Welcome to the March Reiki Reiju. And the theme for this month is to move in with ease and grace, which I have to say is quite ironic considering all the lack of ease and grace happening in the world at the moment. But when I was pondering this theme, and we've been talking a little bit about this already before the recording started, is that it's a many-layered thing, but in essence, it's also not, because everything is a reflection of our inner state. So, and by inner state, I don't only mean us personally, but I mean the inner state of consciousness. So there is an evolutionary process happening. And again, we've been talking about this a lot in terms of the COVID pandemic being almost like a precursor or a catalyst for this huge shift that we're going through at the moment. And it's almost like as soon as we've started to see the light at the end of the tunnel, now we're being squeezed into some kind of war. So I don't know if you guys are feeling the same, but I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me, seriously. But there is also this very powerful movement of energy that is constantly peeling us back or forcing a kind of evolutionary movement of this idea of the butterfly, right? So it's kind of like, in a sense, the whole COVID thing where we had to go into our little cocoons and we had to do all our things. And now this emergence of the butterfly, but also we're being squeezed out of it. Now, the theme that I really wanted to talk about was this idea that there is this evolutionary process happening. And we can see it all around us, right? There are things that are way beyond our control that are unfolding. And so then often it's the question of, well, how can I contribute? What can I do? And there's obviously lots of things you can do on a physical level. You can donate, you can act, you can, and I don't include like ranting on Facebook as action, okay? I mean, actual action in terms of contributing where you feel called to do. Now, today, I actually feel this is action, even though it might feel like you're sitting in your living room and we're going to do a meditation, but there is an energy that we are bringing to bear. And all of you are Reiki people, you understand that actually the Reiki energy is a very, very powerful force for shift, for healing, and for balance. So this idea of ease and grace is remaining centered and then acting from that right space. So not getting caught in the duality of what is going on, but focused on how to bring more compassion and love and holding the frequency. So a lot of what we've been talking about over the last 2 years now has been this idea of watching that flow and where the energy wants to move and how we are engaging with it. So there is this very fine balance between thinking that we can do something and observing the movement. And I know it's one of these things that people find really difficult to balance. I know I do. It's just this idea of, okay, am I in the right, am I going with the flow? This whole idea of, are you aligned with your life purpose? Are you aligned with your authentic self? And half the time, I must admit, I sit there going, is this my life purpose? Or is this my egoic purpose? Or what the hell purpose is this? And coming into that centered stillness so that you can feel the movement. And then our part in it is to embrace it and move with it. So it can be a really difficult thing because the mind likes to think that it's the one doing things. And again, I know I sound like a broken record, but it's almost like once you can feel that alignment of energy and movement, then the mind engages. So the mind shouldn't be engaging to find the purpose. It's like the manager trying to be the the CEO. So it's like the CEO has the vision, is the life force. So you could say the CEO is the universal life force, the universal evolution, of which we are one little particle in a massive universe. And if you think about what's happening at the moment, us as individual people have zero power to affect the Ukrainian war. Right? I mean, none of us that are listening right now have any impact whatsoever in terms of how that kind of can actually end or come to some resolution. However, we are also very much a part of the holding of the space of that. And whether we go into duality or hate or fear, or whether we move into the ease and grace, which is really the theme of the day. And what I mean by the ease and grace is not the same as just throwing up our hands and going, oh, you know, whatever, and not caring. It's not about that. It's about moving with the energy so that we can see. It's almost like, and I don't know whether you feel this as well, but it's like, seriously, this is still happening? How is this still happening? Why haven't we? It's like, it feels so old fashioned. If that makes any sense. I'm like, really? That was so like 1945. What the hell? And so I think that there is an evolution in that, because most of us are looking at this with horror in terms of how are we still fighting like kindergarten people? There's so much fear and there's so much misplaced aggression and power play, and we can see it from both sides. Actually, it's not just one person doing it. It's also the way that the West is egging it all on, right? It's like two sides going, rattling sabers. And I think for us, the focus is on, let's think about the compassion. Let's think about the third way, which is us as one humanity or one planet or one thing that is moving. And so then we actually have a very powerful piece to play in this. And that is the idea of bringing our energetic weight, of which, honestly, once we start moving with Reiki and being able to send Reiki and being able to really kind of empower ourselves, is a force to be reckoned with. And you've also got to remember that we're this small little group doing this work, but there are hundreds of these small little groups doing this work. And that builds into a very powerful momentum of shifting the focus away from the right and the wrong, the black and the white, the good and the bad, and into the essence of, how do we really want to shape the world that we're moving into, whereby we start to really move the power into a more compassionate space. And I think that this is the kind of energy that is very different from 70 years ago. You know, it is very different. I think for most of us, we feel a lot more personal power, and we feel a lot more, say, for example, or a lot more connectedness with the evolution of the world than, say, our great-grandparents, who were kind of in a similar situation, or the beginning of a similar situation with World War II. Now, I think it's no coincidence that we've just been through a pandemic before this, where we've had a lot of time to really come into our own inner power around this, even though it might not feel like we've been through inner power, but we have, in a sense. So that it's a very interesting kind of time and movement of energy that's happening. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody, but what I recommend we do is, when we go into the Reiki, Reiju, the meditation, really focus on this idea of the ease and grace of whatever it is you're moving into. And it could be a very personal thing. If you're feeling that you have certain issues that you're dealing with in your own personal life, then of course you focus on those, right? So it's not about judging where you're focused on, because remembering that your little microcosm of your life actually is part of a much bigger microcosm, or macrocosm, should I say, of the planet, which is connected. So there's really no coincidences here. And whatever you contribute into your personal life has a contribution to the whole. And that's something that I don't know whether it's really landed. I know it's landed for a lot of people. It's like, oh my God, there's this sense of responsibility of what I'm putting out into the world is growing in importance. And that's because it has actually always been important, but now we're starting to realize how important it is. And so we're taking more and more personal responsibility for that. So every compassionate thought, every loving embrace, every any time and place where you're coming into it with a heart-centered energy is contributing to the whole. And that's something that I think if we really embrace that and really took it seriously, we would be shifting things much, much quicker than we actually do, because there'd be so many of us like, okay, I can really make a difference with this. So for us anyway, we know this and we're going to do this. And I recommend that you try and bring it more and more into the way that you live your life as well. Really starting to take responsibility for every energetic impulse that you set off into the world actually makes a difference, is a contribution, one way or the other, right? One way or the other. And that's something that I think we need to start taking much more seriously. Okay, I've waffled on enough. Let's go into our meditation. So the way that we start, I do turn off my video. And I'm just going to invite you to start to close your eyes. If you can, put your feet flat on the floor. But if you're in cross-legged, that's also perfectly fine. And just starting to breathe into the heart center. And for those of you sharing an attunement today, just focusing on the whole group. So everybody that is listening now, everybody that will be tuning in later to the recording, is all embraced into a group attunement. For those of you receiving the attunement, you're simply opening the 1,000-petaled lotus, which is located right at the top of your head in the crown chakra. And as you breathe into it, allowing that Reiki energy to come in through the crown into the heart. Using the breath again now to exhale all the way out through the arms, into the hands. And if your hands are not already on your body, just placing them anywhere on your body that feels comfortable today. Often people enjoy one hand over the heart center, one hand under the belly button. But you could also just place them on your lap, on your tummy. If you're sending Reiki, you might have your hands on the cushion. Starting to tune into everybody. Imagining your own energy now, just scanning through the body, using the breath to relax. So relaxing the eyes, the cheek, the jaw, the neck, shoulders. Noticing the breath in the chest, softening the belly, all the way down the legs to the feet. Noticing the feet on the floor, really solid, the solidity of the floor as it holds you. And now with the breath, relaxing the body, bringing it into an equilibrium with the air around you, with the environment, as if you're breathing with the room that you're sitting in. And starting to notice the heart center as you breathe in, intensifying the energy around the heart center, that loving compassion. As you breathe out, just bringing that energy into all the cells of your body, out into your aura. And now expanding very gently, just seeing how it feels. Expanding that loving compassion into everyone on the call today, everybody listening afterwards, starting to form our group, noticing the energy as it comes back to you as well from others. Perhaps you notice more tingling, more heat or sensations, or just a feeling of support and love. And even if the mind is busy, just letting it be, but keeping your focus in the heart. Every breath as you exhale, extending it out into the group. And then whenever you're ready, just allowing that extension a little bit further. As if you're tapping into a band, a frequency, or a sensation of loving compassion. Just consciously breathing into that. Not that you can add to that. It already exists. But just bringing your awareness there. Feeling into it. And simply residing or being present to that frequency of neutrality, of love. Noticing there are no sides or opinions. There's no anxiety or stress that resides here. It's a very gentle energy. And just being here is enough. Being present, aware. You may be able to feel that this energy is everywhere, present as a band around the planet, a frequency, always accessible. It's never gone anywhere, hasn't arrived from anywhere. It just simply is. And when we connect in with it, you can just feel its presence. And by staying in this presence, you light the way for others. They see it in you. As if you were a doorway, a lamp, a guide. And the more time you can spend here, the more time you can radiate it out. The more you act as a guide for others. There's a depth and a stillness here, a deep wisdom. It takes the energy out of the drama. It highlights the importance of love. Almost as an inevitable backdrop. The coming home. And as you breathe into it yourself, just aligning yourself, breathing out any tension, any stress. Coming fully into this vibration. Noticing the Reiki present. Noticing the Reiki everywhere in this vibration of love, but also in the vibration of conflict, in the vibration of peace, but also in war. The deep compassion in everything. And using your breath just to equalize it throughout your whole system, as if you are merging with Reiki, with the air around you. One thing. You may even notice the energy, very gentle, a movement here, a movement there. No need to grasp, no need to know. An inevitable unfolding process. And trusting that process is unfolding for the highest good of all. Even through the suffering. And starting to refocus now on your own aura. Separating yourself very gently, almost imperceptibly, back into your own unique aura, boundary, physical body, sense of self. Yet keeping that connection with the loving and compassionate energy that flows through you and everything else. making sure your own aura is complete and full of light. Starting to bring your attention into the physical body, noticing the edges, the top of your head, down into the neck and shoulders, down the arms, into the chest and belly, all the way down the legs to the feet. Starting to wiggle your fingers, squeeze the toes, raising your arms above the head, giving yourself a little shake. And whenever you're ready, opening your eyes.